Ms. Lees, are we ready to go?
We're good to go, Lana?
Yep.
Well, welcome to council meeting here on February 13th. The mayor is away for this particular meeting, so I will fumble through the agenda. So my apologies in advance when things don't go quite as smoothly as when the mayor is in the chair. First off, just a reminder to everybody to turn off your mobile devices or to switch them to silent so they don't interrupt the meeting. And I'd like to welcome everybody to the Monday, February 13th, 2023, the day before Valentine's Day. If anybody needs a reminder, there's flowers up there. It's a regular meeting of council and calling the meeting to order at 4:01 p.m. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening? Hearing none, I have a motion. Motion number 1, that council hereby accepts the agenda for Monday, February 13th, 2023, regular meeting of council as circulated or amended, moved by Councillor Suki, seconded by Councillor Valance. Are there any questions regarding the agenda? Hearing none, I'd ask all in favor. So carried. Are there any disclosures of interest in tonight's meeting? Hearing none, we'll move into the agenda. Looking at a motion to approve the previous minutes, that council hereby adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Monday, January 30th, 2023, as circulated or amended, moved by Councillor Wheeler, seconded by Councillor Suki. Are there any questions of those minutes? Hearing none, let's ask who's in favor. Carried. Ms. Lees, am I supposed to number the motions? Nope. No, sorry. Okay, thank you. The mayor always forgets our student councillors, but this is a very big week in Marathon High School, so I will not forget our student councillors. A report from Ms. Gorczynski first, or Mr. Zoll?
All right, it is a big week in Marathon High School. We are hosting the MSSS finals for boys basketball and girls volleyball. The basketball games will be held on Wednesday, volleyball on Thursday. I think all of the Falcons teams have moved on, so we all have a shot at a banner, so go Falcons.
Go Falcons.
Hasn't been exciting the past couple of meetings, like we were going into exams and we were at the beginning, at the end of the new semester, and now we're at the beginning of a new semester, so there's not much going on in our school. We're just got to the first week, it's the beginning of the second week, so students are just trying to get settled into their new routines and making any last minute changes if they have to. And obviously, we're very excited for the banner, so that's what's getting a lot of people through these couple of weeks.
And I think just for the community to know that Marathon High School does stream those games now. We do have a camera installed, and you can go through the Marathon High School Facebook page if you want to watch at work. And on Wednesday night, the basketball teams will be playing in the evening for the gold medal games, so community members can attend. The volleyball will be earlier in the day on Thursday, but you can watch on the Marathon High School Facebook page. Our next Mr. Skorczynski will read a report from administration.
So the report is on the declaration of surplus items. So the town has normally sold surplus items at an annual community garage sale, which we haven't had the last couple of years because of the pandemic, or by public tender process. Municipal departments were asked for a list of surplus items, with the following items being submitted: 2007 Chevrolet extended cab, a 2007 Chevy regular cab, a 1994 8000 dump box, a large safe that used to be in the rec complex that we no longer use, and 575 volt peerless pumps. Once declared surplus, as per bylaw number 1822, administration will proceed with the sale on the GovDeals website, of which we're a subscriber, with the dump box being sold for scrap metal only. Financial implications: any proceeds generated from the sale of town items will be deposited into the capital equipment replacement reserve fund. Your administration recommends that council declare the above mentioned items surplus to the municipality's needs, thereby authorizing administration to proceed with the sale of the items, and that any proceeds of the sale be deposited into the capital equipment replacement reserve fund.
Thank you, Mr. Skorczynski. I have a motion. The council hereby declare the items in the attached report as surplus to the municipality's needs and authorize administration to proceed with the sale of the items and that proceeds be deposited into capital equipment replace reserve fund. Moved by Councilor Wheeler, seconded by Councilor Balance. Are there any questions of that motion?
That's a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because the first time going through this, is that just always been standard process, is that added to the capital reserve fund?
It generally can go into a general operating or a capital reserve. So in these cases, obviously, we're utilizing capital reserves this year to fund some of our equipment purchases. These are works and operations related items, hence the move it back into capital reserve for equipment replacement.
Any other questions? I guess I have one, which is, you mentioned the community garage sale. I just always love that, all the tables around the rink. Are we looking or thinking about doing that again?
Yeah, we are. We'll bring an update to council, but we are looking at May, which is the traditional time we've held it. So we will look to do it once again this year.
That's awesome. One that I like. All in favor of that motion? We're carried. Mr. Skorczynski will now provide a verbal update on the 2023 budget.
So just an update, not a report, no motions attached. So on January 30th, administration presented council with a complete 2023 draft budget. After a thorough review of the budget, council directed administration to come back with a budget that reflected a 4% tax increase for 2023. Based on this, approximately $900,000 in budget savings, new revenues, use of reserves, or a combination of had to be found in the budget. Since the January 30th meeting, administration has continued detailed budget work and reports the following. Revenues of $124,000 added to the budget, a corporate donation of $7,500 added, capital reduced by $28,500, which is the sidewalk pulverizer, which administration's pulled from the budget. Capital reduced by $20,000. We were able to purchase a 3/4 ton truck, used with extended warranty on it. Capital reduced by $18,000. We were able to get 2 zero-turn mowers that were used as well. Operating expenses reduced by $131,000 and $25,000 removed from the operating budget. And then water reserves will be utilized for that work, which is water related. So based on the foregoing, the amount that must be found in the budget or taken from reserves to arrive at a 4% tax increase remains at approximately $545,000. Administration would also like to confirm with council the following contributions as outlined on January 30th, so they can be finalized, as some of them require legal agreements to be drafted. So the Group of 7 Trails Association, $80,000 to be taken from the municipal accommodation tax. The Marathon Snow Kickers, $30,000, also from the MAP. Marathon Community Collective, $15,000. Marathon and District Historical Society, $15,000. And the Marathon Public Library, $160,000 in base funding, plus $10,000 fee for service from the municipal accommodation tax to provide tourist services. Administration will continue to work through the budget over the next month and provide council with an additional update in early March as we move towards final budget approval in April.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Skorczynski. Are there any questions on that report? Councillor Suki.
For the library, the $10,000 like fee for service, like coming from the bat, does it have to be like, because they don't currently offer like that tourist information center? Is that something they'd have to accept to do first before receiving that?
That's correct. So so any organization that receives funds from the municipal accommodation tax has to enter into a legal agreement with the municipality, which outlines the amount they're getting, as well as either the project or the service they're going to provide for utilization of those funds.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Maybe to ask the budget process from this point forward, can you outline where we are with timelines and feel like we didn't get you to your $500,000 there. So how do we move forward?
Yeah, so no requirements of council at this point in time. So in approximately another month, we'll bring a report to council. Generally, we pass our budget on the last meeting of April. There are a number of things we work through. We'll be working through our municipal audit. So we'll hope to have a pretty good handle on where we're at from a surplus or deficit perspective as it relates to 2022 come early April. We also align with the province and the feds with their year-end fiscals, which is March 30th. And just reconciling transfer payment amounts, any outstanding funding, those types of items. And also administration continues to work through the budget, whether it be on the capital side, we do, there's likely savings once we tender some projects. So the reason we come in April is it gives us an opportunity to reconcile with the province and the feds, but also complete a number of items from a tendering or request for proposal process, which lets us know whether we're on budget, over or under for a number of items. So we'll provide another update in a month to council, and then from there we'll move forward towards finalization of the budget in April.
Councillor Supi?
Yeah, thank you. But I'm sure that, like, just for some of the groups that we've approved their deputations or delegations on the 30th has probably made it challenging for administration. So I'm just wondering if there's any way that you would hate to take away from a group, but for the mat tax and the tourism, does the district historical society, like, does that count as tourism in any way? Like, where you can take some like, and use the mat tax, or no?
It would, and it really, it doesn't necessarily make a difference from so council's really expended all of the mat tax for this coming year. So it really doesn't make a difference. So, the mat tax is recognized in the budget as either a revenue or an expense. So, if you give it to the user groups, we have to make up those revenues somewhere else. So it's really you're just trading money between items.
Yeah.
So, my recommendation would be, it's generally we've given the community collective, it's a contribution, through the budget. I would suggest we do the same.
And any other questions of?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I'm sure the snow picker is like to be like shocked to get $30,000, right? So if it was like, if we did a 15 and then 15 that would cover, our contribution to the historical society or something like that, just.
Well, in a roundabout, so we couldn't necessarily use the mat tax for the historical society because they're not providing a service that would be recognized under the Ontario regulation. Okay. But if, for example, you reduced an amount that was given through the mat, then that goes back into revenue for us. So it reduces the amount that we have to either levy, or find savings for. If I'm explaining that properly, so it's found money.
Okay.
So it's not giving it to another item,
You don't have.
but it does go back into the budget and it does reduce the levy.
And there certainly, I think, was an understanding that wasn't a standing budget item of $30,000 a year that was for a very particular project.
Yeah.
Right, I think that was pretty clear to me.
Yeah, so the request we received from the snow kickers was open-ended. I did follow up with the president, Mr. Colburn, and so they started the project of replacing the deck boards on the Mark Twain Bridge last year. This year is the completion of that. It's approximately a $50,000 project. And speaking with Mr. Colburn, he indicated any amount of support from the municipality would be appreciated towards that project. So they didn't request 30 or 50.
Yeah.
It was an open-ended request to council.
And maybe just to put things in perspective, we aiming for 4%. What is every percent equals how much money? How much money do you have to save to drop a percent?
It's only about 53,000.
About 50,000 is a percent. Yeah. Okay.
So, as indicated on January 30th, this is a budget year unlike we've seen in the past, really based on, 3 factors. And, one is, the consumer price index, which is the highest, Canada's seen in, I don't know, decades. The second is, the energy usage and the dollars tied to that, which is probably anywhere from 10 to 15% higher than we've traditionally seen. And then everything associated with supply chain, whether it be, a 25% insurance increase, or any item, like structural steel, we're seeing 10 to 15% increases on those items. So, you know, in all actuality, the operating budget is at or below 2022 levels in most cases within the budget. It's those external pressures that are driving the budget up.
That's a good explanation. Yeah. Any other questions before we move on? Then I would invite Mr. Parrish to come down and give us a verbal update on the Pebble Beach and Works Garage projects, as those are two of our big items in 2023. Speaking of pressures and budgets that are tough to manage, here we go.
Yeah, a little more positive on this, right? We're moving ahead with a couple of things here, so. All right, so just, I'll do two verbal updates. I'll speak on Pebble Beach first, and I'll speak on the Public Works Garage. And at the end, if you guys have some questions, I'll answer them. So basically, when we're looking at the project, we've signed contracts with RML Contracting for the Pebble Beach. And in the last meeting we had with council, council recommended putting a washroom facility up there and ensuring that the electrical conduits would be installed. So we reviewed that in the contract. Those have been added. And then, you know, that'll ensure that we're not impacting asphalt, you know, later on when we have to add anything. So those have been added. I will say the washroom, we went with a double precast accessible washroom. There'll be two. They'll actually have a pretty neat looking design to them as we focus on Pebble Beach. And our focus is on the rocks, right? That's what we do. Actually, the lower section of these washrooms will have the pebble look. So it's gonna look like a river stone as we try to embrace the tourist attraction that we're creating down there. So during the month of February, we're looking at shop drawings, reviewing shop drawings, confirming insurance or performance bonds are all in place. We're scheduled to put out the building permit. I'd say by March 2023, the building permit for Pebble Beach should be issued. Construction phase, we just finalized the construction phase. Pending weather conditions, we're hoping for a early April start with the completion of September 15th. So understanding that we're going to impact that tourist attraction for this upcoming season is we're going to look at several things to try to, you know, I think improve our community for other locations to view. So when you look at, we have the new group of seven trail going up to the hill. That's going to impact that area. We're going to put some temporary fencing up and a small trail which will still allow people to go and use that trail. The parking where people go right now to Pebble Beach is going to be deemed a construction site, will be removed from any use, but the group of seven trail will remain. We're also going to look at two other locations. When you look at Stevens Avenue and Winton Street, where we put that one lookout last year, and then coming down the Bay Hill, those are two areas we're going to promote on the website and other social media areas to let the public know we're tourists coming into town today. There still are some other great views. Here's two other locations that you can go take a view during our temporary construction of the project. So we think that's important to make sure that the public is notified of the closure of Pebble Beach. And that the other, you know, the viewing of using the group of seven trail is still there. So that's a discussion with Pebble Beach. Quick update on that. And want to answer any questions on that now, maybe before we move on to the next one? Sounds good.
I've maybe one just,
Sure.
So I'm really glad we're going with bathrooms. I think that's important that facility exists for folks. And I like the idea of going to rocks, just ensuring that, like if somebody were coming in with mobility issues, they're not walking on pebbles, right? There's
No, the site will have
Okay.
some solid surfaces to get
To get
into
into
there.
that.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Good, yeah, it's wheelchair accessible, except you gotta go over the rocks.
Yeah.
Perfect, okay, just making sure that that's done. That's really exciting. And so just, will we put on our website that section, because like, I just know you go down, if there's a big storm, there's, you know, 20 cars down there watching the storm, so it'd be nice to not just close it, but maybe even suggest, like you said, here's two other locations you might want to.
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. We'll be promoting that. So we'll be working in-house and Serena's now back, so we'll be working with her on that for posting all the notices.
That's awesome. It's gonna be great to be done.
Yeah, so that's an exciting project. The second project we'll discuss real quickly is the new Public Works facility. Glad to say that we've issued the building permit on January 20th, so that was great news. Over the past several months, actually, we've been working with the CGB group, reviewing shop drawings and site instructions. And just in case you guys aren't aware, shop drawings are just a more detailed item and drawing of what we lay out in a construction drawing. So for example, we have an HVAC unit, we put HVAC on there. It's pretty limited to what the construction shows in the detail. So now we review all the detail from the submissions coming into the CGB group. Quite a bit of items we go through, especially HVAC windows, precast, steel, all those type of items come into play. So it's been busy with that. We're just wrapping up construction schedule. We're pretty well firmed it up to being mid-May construction of 2023. Which is a great time for the Public Works Department because in the month of April and May, we need some time to prep our site. As right now, as you can tell, we're under snow. So we'll prep our site and realign the operations with CGV as they mobilize. And there's a very unique site because on this site, we're going to still have a full construction site. So in our Occupational Health and Safety Act, there's some limitations what you can do in regards to encroaching on operations. So we've separated that. We'll be, putting up some temporary fencing, allocating specific laydown areas, specifically travel areas. So the Public Works operation and CGB group clearly outline what's happening on the same site. And what that'll also do is allow us to ensure that it minimizes any disruption to the Public Works operation as we still need to operate for during the time of construction. We're looking at approximately a 14 to 15 month construction period. So we're looking at an occupancy of August 2024 when we come in for the Public Works to start mobilizing into a new operation of that facility. One item which will be done earlier, which will be the new salt shed, which is part of the project. The salt shed will be completed in 2023 in September. That's to ensure that all our logistics of inventory coming in for winter roadways isn't impacted. So we've clarified that with the CGV group and they've confirmed that would be done on time. All right, I think in a nutshell, that gives you a quick update on the Public Works garage. Any questions relating to two projects?
Questions on Public Works? Maybe just one. So when I think about the emergent Public Works stuff, it's really around winter roads. It has to be done, not on your schedule, but on Mother Nature's. So that pressure, is that gonna be the toughest thing to manage, or do we feel like we've got a nice handle on that?
I think we're lining things up right now as we're scheduling, we're already preparing for how we're gonna manage winter 2023, right? So we're realigning, different facilities. So we have an airport maintenance garage. We have a landfill maintenance garage. We're repurposing the cold storage area. So we're actually realigning all that work right now to be prepared to operate. So we know it's gonna come with some challenges, but we're really trying to minimize any challenges that we're.
Are we utilizing the mill garage in any capacity?
No, we won't be using the mill garage, but it is one area we could if we had to.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. As right now, that space is being rented out, so.
Oh, right, of course it is. Any other questions? It's not nearly as sexy as the public, as the Pebble Beach one.
No, that's why I put the Pebble Beach first, right? More interest with that one.
But probably more important from a municipal perspective.
Yeah.
You have to get that done.
Just out of curiosity, is that your anticipated timeline, like prior to taking on the project, was that long for it to be, yeah.
Actually, I'm actually surprised it's actually that time. I was actually expecting we weren't gonna get into about December of 24. But we're starting to see change, the supply chain is starting to get a little bit more realigned right now. But, we used to, last meeting I mentioned, the transformer is a 24-month delay on the transformer to feed that supply. So we're gonna be running a 500 kVA for a 2-year operation until we upgrade.
Hearing no other questions, thank you for that report. It's nice to be updated and,
Yeah, I think we're gonna do coming up too, we'll be putting a website, posting on the website to start showing pictures of the construction so that the public will see as the construction phase goes on. So try to update it every couple of weeks.
Yeah. And I do appreciate hearing you're gonna work with Serena too, and Ms. Goodchild to sort of align expectations for the municipality. I think.
Yeah.
So when you come and something's closed, if you know it's fine, if you don't, that's when.
Yeah, and a lot of people make travels down here, right? So we want to make sure that they are aware that there's other visibilities or viewing areas they can go to.
Will there be any way to get down to the rocks themselves, or is that gonna be?
It's gonna be a tough one. It might, depending on how the project phases in, if there's a delay for some asphalt, we may open up a section. But that'll have to be reviewed with the contractor as he takes the liability on that site. But, but we're hoping to have the minimal disruption as much as we can.
Excellent.
And they're willing to prepare themselves that if the weather is even, they can get in a little earlier start, they're willing to do that. And I've already mentioned that we would approve that. So we can start in, first week of April and be done by the end of September. Because there's a lot of tourists that come in September for, especially the leaves and everything is between across, right?
And I think just an important health and safety note, once that becomes a construction site, then RML becomes the theoretical owner of the site until they hand it back over to us. So they're responsible, under all the regs, for that site, which is, why we close it off to the public.
Well, I do remember Cedar Lake 2 years ago, that landing was deemed a construction site. You couldn't get into the lake at all, so I know what happens. Excellent. Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Paris. Not that I ever intend to race the mayor, but I feel like I run a quicker meeting than him. That's, that comes to the last motion, which is maybe a reminder once again that if you do want to watch the student counselors play volleyball, that's on Thursday, live streamed on Marathon Facebook, and the boys basketball is on Wednesday, so it's kind of a big thing in town. And with that, I would do a motion that we do hereby adjourn at the hour of 4:26 PM, moved by Mr. Vance, seconded by Mr. Suki. All in favor? We're carried. Thank you and have a good evening.